Hey, the PMP exam is one of the most difficult tests for professionals, and we've heard this from everyone. But not to worry, you have a coach who eats the PMBOK for lunch. Here he is to set the record straight for you, your friend Phil.
Hey folks, welcome. Thank you for joining our touch point for today. We're taking a look at a question from our student Cheaton, and Cheaton has written in, goodness, a question, and the question states, I am having challenges or issues countering questions involving managed communications and monitor communications because I usually confuse one with the other and ultimately choose a wrong option to such questions. Can you please provide me any tips, tricks, or help me to keep clear understanding about the two processes when dealing with questions about them? Okay, so basically monitor communications and managed communications are throwing you for a loop. That's really what it sounds like. And this is classic PMP exam prep. You know, I've done videos about this on previous editions where they were called other things. But today, let's hone in on what exactly the PMI says. You hear me referring to the mothership a lot. I'm talking about the PMBOK guide. So I've got my PMBOK guide here. We're going to be taking a look at page 359 so that by the time we're done, it will be crystal clear what the differences are. Okay? So let me give you a quick example of what managed communications is. Okay? Managed communications. Hey, Johnny, do you mind moving that? Or, hey, Johnny, here's the information you need. Today, we're going to be working on X, Y, and Z. Oh, and by the way, the activity that you were waiting for completion, it got delayed a little bit further. Okay? But here's the information you need. See ya. That's an example of managed communications. I am communicating with an intent to share information, be it a report, maybe give status, maybe have some sort of communications between two entities. It could be through a report. It could be communicating real time to pass across information. Now, let me give you an example of monitor communications. Hey, Johnny, do you like how I communicated with you just now? Was it effective? Did you understand what I was saying? Was the message clear, or was it kind of blurred or hazy when you were actually trying to imagine what I was really saying? And Johnny says, no, it was great. Okay, well, I'm just done with monitor communications. You see the difference? Managed communications is speaking, delivering information, sending out reports, the art of communicating with an intent to share the information as promised, with the intent to get that communication across as initially planned in planned communications management. Monitor communication, on the other hand, is checking to ensure that the communication was clear. Checking to ensure that your communication management plan and your communication strategy is actually working. Now, if Johnny said, no, that was horrible and awful communication, and you need to do a lot better, Phil, and your team needs to deliver this, that, and the other at a better time. I need to go back to the drawing board, find out what went wrong, and look for ways to repair the broken communication so it becomes better. Does that paint a picture for you? 1, manage communication, communicating. 2, monitor communications, making sure that your communication strategy and approach is actually working. All right, so let's go back to the mothership and let's read the details on page 359. I should actually say read the high-level blurb. This is what I would recommend for anyone if you encounter a process and you're stuck. You know what you need to do? You need to first of all go to that summary, and then you need to dig deeper if after the summary it still doesn't make sense. So let's read what's here. Managed communications, it states, the process of ensuring timely and appropriate collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval, management, monitoring, and the ultimate disposition of project information. So the bottom line is this: I have this information, I have these project communications. What is going to be done with them? I'm going to communicate them, I'm going to send them out. But it's the whole string of events, the entire string of events. So if someone says managed communications is all about collecting information that's needed, creating information that's needed, distributing information that's needed, storing or being able to retrieve the retrieval of the information that's needed, managing information, monitoring, and ultimately disposing of those project communications. That person will be correct. All of those pieces are important, okay? Collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval, management, monitoring, and the ultimate disposition of project information, okay? That is what managed communications is. So don't be sidetracked by the word monitoring there, okay? When we talk about it in this context, we're talking really about sending the information out. And as we're sending the information out, of course, we need to be aware of what is going on with it as it's being sent out. But let's read monitor communications, all right? Monitor communications here, 10.3, it states the process of ensuring, boom, that's it. It's all about an assurance, ensuring the information needs of the project and its stakeholders are met. Making sure the person got what they needed, they got it when they needed it, there was no additions, no subtractions, A-OK, spot on, it's working, it's not broken, let's keep doing it. That's exactly what you do in monitor communications. Or, my goodness, it's totally broken and we need to fix it. Okay, so that would be what 10.3 is. Now, like I said, I like going a little step further just to distinguish one from the other. Let's go to page 360. Take a look at managed communications. Do you notice that one of the outputs of managed communications is something that you do not get from monitor communications? What is it? It's project communications. Because as you're sending the information out, you're sending the reports out, that is project communications. And it either needs to be filed, archived, made available to people at some other time, etc. On the flip side, monitor communication is really just about checking. It's like a temperature gauge. How well are we doing? Did we do well? Did they get what they needed? Did they get the communications we promised in the plan? So on and so forth. All right, so that's another way of you distinguishing between processes by taking a look at the characteristic outputs of that process. All right, let's go a step further to the details of managed communications on page 379. So again, they go through that laundry list of collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval, management, monitoring, and ultimate disposition. But let's take a look at the key benefit, which was not mentioned before. It states, the key benefit of this process is that it enables an efficient and effective information flow between the project team and the stakeholders. This process is performed throughout the project. And that's why the project manager is drained after spending so much time communicating. This is where it takes place. People say the project manager spends up to 70 to 90% of the time communicating. So when you read this, it becomes very clear why certain project managers are drained, because they are communicating, and communication requires energy, as John Maxwell would say. It requires a lot of things, and that's why. But managed communications is really it. When you talk about the art of effective communications, this is the process where it is upheld and practiced. All right? It states the managed communications process identifies all aspects of effective communication, including choice of appropriate technologies, methods, and techniques. In addition, it should allow for flexibility in the communications activities. The bottom line is whatever works for you and your project, do it. All right? And that's why a lot of managed communications focuses on the tactics, the approach for getting that information out. Now let's read monitor communications on page 388. It states, monitor communications is the process of ensuring the information needs of the project and its stakeholders are met. The key benefit of this process is the optimal information flow as defined in the communications management plan and the stakeholder engagement plan. So watch this. The process of ensuring the information needs of the project and its stakeholders are met. The key benefit of the process is the optimal information flow defined in the communications management plan. You're trying to optimize your communications management plan. If it's not working and people aren't getting what they need when they need it, then you're going to optimize. You're going to do something different. It says optimal information flow as defined in the communications management plan and the stakeholder engagement plan. So both of those plans give you an awareness and knowledge of how to effectively communicate with your stakeholders. It says the process is performed throughout the project. And then it goes into the inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs. But let's go to page 389. It says monitor communications determines if the planned communications artifacts and activities have had the desired effect of increasing or maintaining stakeholder support for the project's deliverables and expected outcomes. The impact and consequences of project communication should be carefully evaluated, that's what you're doing here, and monitored, that's what you're doing here, to ensure that the right message with the right content, the same meaning for the sender and receiver, is delivered to the right audience through the right channel and at the right time. Monitor communications may require a variety of methods such as customer satisfaction surveys, collecting lessons learned, observations of the team, reviewing data from the issue log, or evaluating changes in the stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. So, I mean, this is a mouthful. It's a mouthful. It then goes further. Let's read this just to clarify a little bit more. It states, the monitor communications process can trigger an iteration of the planned communications management and or manage communications process to improve effectiveness of communication. So let me give you an example. I'm communicating with Johnny and we realize this is failing. This discovery of failure could necessitate another round of planned communications management, going back, as it were, to ground zero for this particular approach of communicating with Johnny, going back to ground zero and trying to analyze and verify what should we do differently, where did it get broken, and what are we going to do now to ensure, optimal flow of communication. And then after you have discovered what to do and you have now replanned, what do? You now execute the plan. So this could necessitate finding out that communications is broken. PMI is trying to say it could necessitate additional rounds of planning and executing, which makes sense following the PDCA cycle. You plan, do, check, act. Well, you checked now, it's broken, replan, redo, recheck. Okay? And that is pretty much what this process is. And that's it for monitor communications and manage communications. Thank you very much, Cheaton, for writing this in. I wish you all the best on the test. And all of you folks watching, remember to share this with your friends. If this is shared on YouTube, share it. If it's shared in some other medium and you're unable to share it, let them know about our program so they can come aboard and benefit from videos like this. All right? Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best on your test. Bye for now.